back to Realize Your Potential with Mike and Travis. We are so excited to be back with you into this new year. It's been some interesting stuff popping off in the new year, but we're going to focus on how to make sure that we're successful in the new year. And so we're going to continue our series, basically our series on top of a series, our overall series on PPA, but we're going to focus this series, this specific section, on the value of help. And so we're going to talk about what that means, how to seek help, and we're going to have guests over the next couple of weeks that can really tell you about the value of help, either that they provide or the impact that it's made on their lives. So before we jump into it though, Mike, we got to tell them all the time. What do we got to tell them to do?
We got to like, subscribe, comment below, say something, like, hey, we enjoy what you're doing. Or, hey, talk to us a little bit more about this. Or, hey, can I reach out to you and get some quick insights?
Right, exactly. Comment. We want to hear from you guys. And we do hear from you through text and emails and Facebook, but love to see those comments on the video. So we really appreciate you. And then also share it with as many people as you can, because we want to give this goodness to everybody. So without further ado, let's talk about the value of help, right, Mike? And let's set the stage for this series. But let's talk about the different forms of help. So take us through, when you're looking for help, what does that mean? What are the different kinds you can have?
Sure. The different types of help could be consulting, right? Coaching. And for some folks who might need a little bit more support around their emotional selves, right? Their cognitive selves, or, things that are going on behaviorally in a way that's really not too helpful, they can reach out and find a therapy counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So those are sort of the traditional ways that for us, right, reaching out for help looks like. Now, when you need help and you're reaching out to a homeboy or a good friend, that friend may be taking a consultative approach. They might be taking a coaching approach, or they might be giving you a little lightweight therapy, right? Although it may not be in their scope of being able to do that. But ultimately, however it is that people might be getting help, we can frame them in those sort of three ways.
And so what is the difference between coaching and consulting? And then we kind of talk about therapy. What's the difference between coaching and consulting?
Yeah. So consulting is, let's just say I have an issue that's very specific, and I might need a subject matter expert to help me with something very specific that I need to do, right? And so coaching is a tad bit different, because a coach is going to help you sort of discover what things that you might have already in your sphere of control that you can utilize, right? And so how I easily look at it is, if your goal is to learn how to drive a car, right? A consultant is going to write the book on how mechanically, you start the car, you put the key in, and, you put your foot on the gas, and, et cetera. So, they're going to create a booklet, and maybe their expertise is, this is how you drive a car. A coach is going to be someone who is sitting next to you in the driver's seat, being your co-pilot, right? So they're not going to tell you, all right, now you got to turn on the key. They're going to say, what's that shiny thing in your hand, and where do you think it might go to sort of serve the best purpose to move forward? Right. So
they're going to ask really good questions, maybe give a little insight, leading questions. But yeah, that's really the biggest difference. I think you nailed it, Mike, right? Like, the consultant's going to give you that advice. Here's what I should do, where the coach is just going to ask you really good questions, so you come up with your own answers. And so
now, the interesting thing with that is, coaches like you and I, we can play the consultant role, but yet we have to keep on our coaching hat, because we do have expertise in certain areas that could really benefit from people. So I know for me, I find myself sometimes trying my best to be in the passenger seat, and really try to support, the folks that I'm supporting with, in terms of coming to their own resolve around how do they utilize their own resources, or just things that maybe they've done in the past to
Hmm.
really help propel them forward, right? Or even, how do you reach out for help? Like, who are those people that we need
Absolutely.
to identify to get in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. I mean, take that away, team. That's really good stuff there. So,
Mm.
okay, so a coach and consultant, I kind of get the difference there, but a therapist or a psychologist or anyone that is in that realm is mightily different. What is the difference between coaching, consulting, and like therapy, for instance?
So, Travis, great question. In the mental health world, um, the difference between a therapist or a mental health provider is we are governed by a set of laws, regulations, etc., with how we support people. And so, um, but also we have a lot of very formal education around how do we, identify a mental health challenge, and then how do we determine if it's impacting one of their life domains in
Mm-hmm.
ways that they would need a mental health professional. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we have the ability to diagnose. We have, well, not me or psychologists, but psychiatrists have the ability to prescribe medication if that's the chosen intervention to use. um, and so it's like how I wrap my head around it is, um, I can identify if someone is having a mental health challenge that's getting in the way, and I have a certain set of skills and tools that are very specific to that diagnostic impression of how to address that in a very specific way, which is
Mm-hmm.
sort of backed by research and the medical field and etc. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's really important for people to understand those differences because then they can diagnose what type of help they need. And then in general, just having, you talked about this a little bit, but like having a friend or a mentor, which we believe is really important, not just what we would call professional help, but just having people in your life that are really helpful, um, and who have been through some things that maybe can help you through some of the things that you go to. I think that's kind of like the wrapping around it, right? Is having just really good people in your life. And every guest that we've talked to, and I bet you every guest that we have moving forward is going to talk about the people they've surrounded themselves with and how important that was to helping them get to where they are.
And that's very much a common theme where, um, when you see successful people, like that's going to continuously be the common theme that sort of runs through. And I feel like I'm just
No, no,
energizing
yeah, no,
what it
go
is
ahead.
what it is that you're saying, but like that's one of the common threads. And it's not only one of the common threads, but it's also a common thread that sort of we continue to highlight and really try to empower people to do, um, when we're working with people.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So I hope most of you who are watching right now kind of took that away from this scenario of, okay, these are the different types of help, and this is what I probably need in my life at different times for different issues. But why is that so important? Like, why would I ever go out and hire a consultant or a coach or a personal trainer if I'm trying to get in shape? Or why am I going to go to a therapist or a psychologist? Like, why can't I just talk to that group of mentors around me? Why can't they just help me there? Like, in general,
Yeah.
Mike, why do you think that that's so important?
Because I think based on people's skill set and what their experiences are, they're only
Hmm.
going to get you to a certain place, and that place might be where you're already at
Hmm.
and where you might be stuck. And so, um, you know you might need a different perspective and a different nudge that has a very specific set of skills that matches what's going on with you
Hmm.
to really help you be successful,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
And as we were prepping for this section, right, we were doing a little bit of research and we read a couple articles. And one of the articles that we came across that was really exciting was an article on personal trainers, right? And as we were talking through this article, we were kind of like, well, doesn't that apply to coaches and consultants and all of those different things? And so the article is in the description if you guys want to check it out. We're going to take you through the seven. There was actually a little bit more than that. I think there was like 8 or 9, maybe even 10 different bullet points they had, but there were seven that really stuck out to us in terms of what were important. So we would like to take you through that and maybe discuss some of those so that you can understand the value that you may see or need in a coach, and why you might seek out a consultant or a therapist professionally. And so the first part of that article talks about you're not getting the results that you want. It's kind of a no duh, Mike, right? But I mean, when you think about it, if I'm you, and I think you kind of said this, right? If I'm just continuing with the circle of people that I have around me, and nothing is changing or getting the results, isn't that kind of like what they say the definition of insanity is? Like continuing to do the same things and expecting different results, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and and so that idea of really not being able to get results, it can be a big clue that I probably need some extra help. Would you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes when we do a self reflection, usually we identify that that's what's going on when we're
Hmm.
not in a good space. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or if we're annoyed or frustrated, or we're noticing that, I'm at a certain part of my career and I don't know what it is, but I cannot break through that ceiling. Like I continuously get overlooked for opportunities. People aren't noticing me. So those might be some indicators to reflect on in regards to this one that we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. The second piece they had is don't know where to start. So I'm in a situation where I I'm I'm okay, I'm stuck, right? Like one of those cars that you see
Mhm.
stuck in the mud, right? Like I just don't know how to get to my goals. I've seen that so many times as we're coaching different clients, because when you have a dream or a passion and you're like, okay, I know this is what I want to do. I want to act like how, right? Sometimes you're like, okay, I see that on TV. I know I want to do it, but then how do I get the training that I need to really be successful in it? How do I access different people in Hollywood so I can do that, or on stage, or how do I get an agent, which Hal talked about? And there were so many things that you just don't know, right? And
Mhm.
so if you're just stuck in the mud, right, it could stop you from being where you need to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like that's the power of then being able to reach out and leverage people
Hmm.
in your network, your social network. Being as bold as just to reach out, like in the scenario of, I don't know how to act, just being bold to reach out to, Paramount Studios and just see where it goes. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
But the coaching part would be, how do you talk to those people? How do you say things in a way to where, you're going to be able to get someone to listen to you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then of the seven, let's cover one more, because when it's just you and me, we like to keep those things tight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
So let's cover one more, and then we'll pick up right where we left off in session two. But the third one on that list was I I want to learn, or I want to be challenged. And I think at times when we have an idea in our head of where we should be, and sometimes we don't know how to push ourselves beyond what we see. This is what I see, this is what I do. And so, but if you do really good self-reflection, you can go, man, to reach my max potential, I have to be challenged. I have to learn more. And I think that's where a personal trainer, a coach, a consultant really can help you.
Yep. And which also means, I think, again, another common thing that we're talking about is how do you encourage yourself to be open to hearing that these
Mhm.
are the things that you may need to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick pause here. Jump in with us next week. We're going to pick up right where we left off. This is the value of help. We're going through some of the key indicators of why you would need help. So thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we can't wait to see you next week. Talk to you soon.